Hi, everybody. Welcome to Uncomplicating Business. I am Sarah. You know me probably. I teach a course called Selling for Weirdos. I'm a business coach. I do a lot of things, and I talk a lot about trust because it matters. Today, we are going to talk to, yeah, another of my favorite people. I think every time I do one of these interviews, I'm going to say that, but like I've invited all my favorite people. So, and not, I also have other favorite people, but listen, one thing at a time. Today, we are going to talk to one of the bestest in the bunch, Deb Stanley. Deb is a million things and a million things well, which is constantly amazing, including Mrs. Claus, P.S., just so you know.
That's true.
Um, she is a retired special ed teacher, and after retirement, she started her first business because she has multiple that she wouldn't admit out loud. Transition Bridges, where she works with students and their families after graduation from high school, students that have special needs, unsure what to do, and have to figure out how to go into life. She is also an author of many books. We're going to talk about that. And then works through the process of helping other people write and publish their books through her book coaching. She does all kinds of things. So I am thrilled bits to have Deb here with us today. So hi, Deb. How are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. And you're one of my favorite people too, and you know it. And you're in my
I,
head all the time. Sarah's
so
in my head.
before we hopped on, everybody has to hear this. We were talking about, I had said to Deb, here's how we're going to start. Here's the first question I'm going to ask. And she was like, oh no. And I was like, wait, but we just make things up as we go. And what we started talking about is this thought I have about my business all the time that like businesses, like literally the business I have, the businesses Deb has, we had a thought one day, we had nothing. And then we had a thought one day, and now we have a business. Like that, we make money from a thought we happen to have out of the air. Like it came from, it was a nothing and now is a something. And that's crazy. Like we're magicians. So if you're not sure you're a magician today, you're a magician, right?
Yeah.
Deb looked at me like I was like, she was like, what are we? Right? What did we were talking about it.
It's so true. It's so true. And I said, I know that. Like there's been a lot of research that says our thoughts create what we have right now, but I never really connected it with my business.
Mm.
Like my marriage, my family, teaching, but I never really connected that with my business. But yeah, it was a thought and here it is.
Well,
A
and it is
real thing. And
right. One of the most concrete examples, right?
mhm.
Like you didn't have to meet someone else like and have that all work out. You didn't have to have science do any part of it. Like there was no biology, there was no other people in the mix. You literally like had a thought and started a thing and here it is. It's crazy. Like it is
It
the
is really
most
crazy.
magical thing to me. So I think about that all the time. So we're going to start today. We're going to talk about trust because y'all know this is the theme. It is what it is. You're stuck with me. Um, with by talking about how you define trust today. Like, what does it mean to you? What does trust mean to you? What does it mean to trust yourself in your business? What? Talk to me about where you start with the idea as trust.
And when I think about trust, I think about faith in something that it will work out. And I also have faith. I'm a Christian, so I have faith in that sense too. But faith that it'll work out or I'll figure it out. And I'll figure it
Mm.
out came from you, Sarah. And it helps us make that leap, I think, that, you know what, I'm not going to know all the answers. Like when I first started, I wanted a blueprint. I wanted some answers. I wanted
Amen.
a blueprint. I like you tell me what to do and I'll do it. But that's not how this works. And it was through your coaching that one of your famous things is I'll figure it out. And that confidence that, oh, okay, sitting here and thinking about it and trying to plan all the things is not going to make it happen. I need to take action and then it'll work out as I
That's
take
the
some
worst.
steps. And yeah. Oh,
Well, it is, and it is, that idea that there's two parts in there, I think, that matter, that all matters, but there's two particular things. I think the first is that it is about kind of knowing that something's going to happen, right? Like you know enough about it, you can do the next thing. You just have to try something,
Hmm.
right? You don't necessarily know, you don't have evidence yet, but once you try something, you will. And it's the leap between planning. Gosh, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher. I like a plan. I like a plan so much, but the plan doesn't tell me anything. There's no evidence that comes out of me having a plan besides like I had an idea. It doesn't it doesn't then tell me what to do with my trust, right? It just sits.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think of it because I was a teacher too. And that plan got, you know, tweaked and as we went, because if kids didn't understand something, I had to keep thinking about how to, tweak that lesson. And with special education, there's like 5,000 factors going on. So
Yeah.
thinking about, okay, how do I navigate this new territory? And so even with the plan, it was constantly changing and figuring it out, right?
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
and no teacher ever walked into a day and thought like this plan is going to go step by step exactly the way I have it. Like it was an outline at best, right? Like
Hmm.
at best. And what's interesting is we're really good in a classroom at that. And then we take that same plan somewhere else and we're like, no, 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 step 4B says that this is how it's supposed to work
Hmm.
here. And we forget to bring our flexibility. And I think trust gives us flexibility, right? You trusted yourself as a teacher to figure it out.
Hmm.
What we build is trusting ourselves as business owners to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that on a podcast recently, and it stuck with me that if you went back into the classroom, you knew you could figure it out and how to take that feeling into your business. And I love that because that is true. I mean, a special education classroom today would look a little different, but I could figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
And so taking that feeling of confidence and trust
Mm,
into my business and going, you know what? I still have the same capability of figuring stuff out as I did in the classroom.
yeah.
So I
Well, and
love
you can
that.
just pick that feeling up and move it. And it's like, oh no, no, I know how to
Hmm.
feel this. I know how to do this. This is crazy. So I think you and I have known each other a long time now, which is
Hmm.
wild to me. Like pre-COVID even. Because you
Hmm.
were Santa and Mrs. Claus for my kids in COVID.
Oh, I love that. That was awesome.
That was, yes, Deb is the best.
Oh, love your
So
kids.
the journey to trust has been ongoing, right?
Hmm.
Talk to me about what it has looked like. I think, and I want to make a distinction because I think there's a difference between trusting yourself as a business person and trusting your business as an entity. So, can you talk to me first about what it's looked like to learn to trust yourself as a business person?
Um, yeah, well, I kind of alluded that when just from sitting here thinking about it, and trying to figure it all out, and finally just having to take that first step out and going, I'll figure it out as I go. I can't sit here and think or buy the next course, or I had a coach who was not fabulous. But taking that action and then figuring out a little bit at a time, and the business keeps evolving
Mm,
and knowing that's okay too. What I started out doing, I still do, but now it's expanded into other areas. Yeah, I don't really know how to separate the business from my self-trusting, but anyway, so
well, what I would say, part of the reason I asked it that way of you is because I think there was a journey, I hate the word journey super much, but there's sort of this pathway you walked about, which is just a synonym for journey, but whatever. This path you walked towards like trust in the idea that you have is valuable and that people want and need it, which is a trust in you, right? As a business owner, like that you can do the things that running a business takes, that you have something people want and need. Like it is that deep rooted grounding. But I think also on the other side, you've worked to learn to trust that the people who need you will are out there. that they will see the value of what you do, that saying to them, this is how much it costs, will murder neither of you. Like, neither of you will die from it. And that's really hard sometimes. And that, like, growing the business doesn't hurt anybody, it helps them. Right. And I think that those are sort of separate pathways almost, because sometimes people get the like, I can grow the business, but they're not grounded in themselves. And sometimes people are grounded in themselves, but they're like, but nobody's going to buy this. And those are competing. And that's really hard, I think. And you have both that move really well.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely didn't start out that way. And you have known me from the beginning. So, and just, you know, knowing how to charge. I started my business out. I literally stood in front of a group of school personnel and said, so I started this business, but I'm not going to charge anyone. And people kind of looked at me like, well, good luck with that. Because it was people in our realm of special education. I said, I don't want money to be a barrier for people. I want them to be able to get the help that they need. But I had a friend say, how are you going to start a business and not charge anyone? Good luck with that.
Mm.
So that whole piece has been a growth, has been growth for me. And knowing I can help people and I can charge and feel good about it. Am I going to charge them to make a connection? No. But I've written a resource book now. I can sell my resource book. I've done some advocating. So kind of figuring that piece out. And then in writing books, people started coming to me as a book coach. And then I felt like, okay, I feel like I can do all the things I do with disability. And now I'm starting to speak. So that's fun. So we
Of
don't
course you
know.
are.
We don't know until we get out there and try different things. But we can't run a business and not charge people. It doesn't work. So, but I was talking with a friend yesterday and she goes, oh, because she's kind of struggling with the same thing. And I said, wouldn't go to get our hair cut and not pay that person.
Mm.
We want to pay that person for a service. And I've learned when people invest in something, I know for myself financially, I'm going to be more invested than I am if something's free. That's just how
Mm.
we are as people. So there's going to be that accountability piece. I've invested in this now. I'm going to get everything I can out of it. And if it's free, we may not feel that way. So
Well,
there's a whole shift. Yeah.
and it is, and that works both ways, right?
Hmm.
Like, if you invested, you are invested. But that comes to us from the other side. Like, I can remember conversations with you where you said, I'm helping these people, but like they're not with me,
Hmm.
right? Early on. And it was like, well, because they're not as invested as you, because you've hadn't been requiring that investment of them. And sometimes the way we ask people to invest is through money first, and then their energy comes with it, right? Because they're making an intentional choice at that point. And that's really hard for the teacher heart to do, I think,
Hmm.
until we realize that it's not an or. It's not like, it's not service or income. It's service and income, right? Like, it's not, they're not mutually exclusive. And it's like, oh, rats, okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, do you think that as a business owner, talk to me about the role of trust in day-to-day business for you?
I think one of the most tricky things has been thinking that there won't be another client. I had a
Mm,
client, we finished what we're doing is if it's the book or they've moved in along on their on their journey, the word that you love, their disability journey. And I think, oh, and then there's this like little there could be a little gap or a little and I that's okay. I'm still gonna show up. And as I'm showing up, things will happen. I will find, I'm making those connections, I'm showing up. I just trusting that there's always someone there who needs what we have to offer. Always, there's
yes.
always someone there. It's a matter of just continue to make those connections. And um, so one example is I was at my favorite coffee shop the other day. We have a coffee shop in our community that employs people with disabilities. And I had met with someone through a mutual connection. So you two need to meet because this, oh, I can say her name, Thea, had just moved into the area from Washington, and she wants to be part of a community and start a community for people who struggle with autism.
Mm.
And she has an adult daughter with autism, and she has a whole service that she offers. And as we're meeting, we're chatting, and I'm giving her all kinds of connections. And I could, because I know people in our community, giving her some suggestions for starting that in her own community around here now. And someone in the coffee shop came over and said, "Hey, Deb, what are you writing? I have your book, la, la, la." And this person went, "Wait, you write books? Because I have one almost finished. Can you coach me?" I went, "Yes." So, we just have to keep showing up and making those connections. And as we give, we also receive what we need. And that's been huge, Sarah, huge for me.
Did y'all hear her? Did you hear what she just said? As we give, we also receive what we need, right? It's funny, the thing I always, when I get in my head about like, where's the next person coming from? Where's the next person coming from? Like, is there going to be another person? I tend, I have taught myself because I didn't have this always to stop and be like, okay, do I really think that I have met the last person that is I am going to help? And that's ridiculous. And the
Hmm.
ridiculousness of that always strikes me. And it's like, oh, okay, my job is just like you said, to show up and make connections. So if I'm not sure where the next person is coming from or who I'm going to help next, then it's time to start talking to people. And like you are a super connector, you're a super people person, you're a super connected, happy to be like, oh, let me talk to, you're actually one of the first people I think of often when I come across teachers in the world who are going into the business world and they're like, I don't even know how to start. I'm like, oh, the first person you should talk to is Deb because she knows a million people, but is really has seen where you are and how you've been and just loves the people part. And it's like an easy intro to like, how do you even have a connection call with somebody? Right? Like I'll have a connection call with them, but then, it's new for people, right? And that takes time. And so it's, that want to be like, okay, I don't actually know. I trust it's going to work itself out, but I have to do my part.
Hmm.
And that's the action you were talking about earlier. Like trust is not let me sit back and wait for it to come to me. Trust is knowing if I do my work, everything's going to work out. This is what I'm teaching my 10-year-old right now.
Oh, well, that's a whole other story, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, connectedness is my number one strength finder strength, if you're familiar with strength finder. I
Yep.
love connection, and I that's one reason when you talk about connection, it resonates with me
Mhm.
because I love that. Like that fills my cup. I can do that. And connecting people with each other is, oh my gosh, that
It's
just
the
really
most
that makes
fun.
my day. And I know you're the same. I have a friend who literally will come to me and say, "I want to connect with this person," and they know you, so will you connect us? Because that common connector is huge too. So when you do that, say, "Hey,
Yeah.
Deb, you need to meet this person." Immediately I have trust, right? I know you.
Yeah.
So I always make sure to connect with that person
Yeah.
because I trust you and I know you. And if you're
Well,
our
and
mutual connector, then it's good. It's going to be good. So,
those
yeah.
people are it's so fun to look at somebody and be like, who do I know that you need? Like,
Hmm.
there's definitely people. Like, that's the most fun. And I think that connection is such a strength and it makes such a difference in I think the more people you connect to, the more you get to see the larger picture of it all, right? Of the interconnectedness of people and of how, like, this connection from this thing, and all of a sudden that person said, oh, I need help with X. And either you had it or you knew somebody who did. And you start to see how you sort of get the bird's eye view of the process of connection and giving and how that then turns into business,
Hmm.
right? And I think one of the things I would love to have you talk about, I'm going to make you talk about. Let me
Go
phrase
ahead,
that
make
differently.
me.
Is I think you have always been really good at connection, but I think one of the things you really worked at and learned hard was moving from connecting to advocating for your business.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's really what you do now.
Yes, it's been one of the hardest challenges for me. The connection's easy, but then how to turn that conversation into I can help you and this is how and this is the cost and this is what I offer. And also trusting that our value is far surpasses whatever we're going to charge. It
Mhm.
does. So,
Every time.
and having trust in that is for a while, it's like, well, I don't know. And it was your coaching that like, whoa, wait, what do you mean you don't know? We don't see our own value. It takes somebody else to see that sometimes and then we have to trust that person if they say they see our value that, okay, it's there. And now I need to convey that to people I'm connecting with and transfer that into a business transaction. But the way you do it is so simple and it feels good. And that's the selling for weirdos. Like it's not the typical sales where you just feel yucky and like, ugh.
Mm.
And I started out feeling that way. And I think part of that was I was always looking to see what I could get from that person. Like, I need to pay my bills. I need money. and that was what probably came across
Mm.
instead of showing up and being present and just listening. And
Mm.
then as conversation evolves, you go, oh, you know what? I know someone who can help you, or I can help you. And this is what that looks like. And it's a very natural part of conversation. It's like my time at the coffee shop the other day. What a natural way I didn't go in even thinking that, but this person said, I have a book. Can you help me? Yes, absolutely. This is what it looks like. Let me know if you're interested. We can talk more. So yeah, but it's been a process. You know it has. It's been a process. It's not
Well, and I
natural
think
necessarily.
it's both natural and we don't trust it to be natural, right? Like
Yeah.
I think the two things that are really interesting in there is that it's both, there is a point in every one of those interactions where a lot of people in business deflect. And somebody will say, well, that sounds great. Like, how could you help me with that? And they're like, oh, no, no, no. I'm not sure you'd want me, or I'm happy to do it for free, or like, let me, right? We start to deflect the
Mm-hmm.
idea that they could want us. Like you just said a minute ago, they'll say, hey, how does it work? And I have to be willing, excuse me, to receive that or receive the money or receive them working with me. And there is a point where people sort of start to deflect, like, oh, no, 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 not me. I'm not enough for you, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
in whatever way. And it is sort of stopping that natural inclination because you're grounded. In Selling for Weirdos, we talk about grounding and connecting and inviting. So you're grounded enough in yourself to know you can help them. And then you're connecting just like a regular person. And when and if they say, hey, that sounds great, can you help me? You get to like not be like, no, no, not me, not me. I'm not enough, right? And so it's an interesting process, right? Because it is natural if we allow it to be natural and we don't stop it halfway through because of our own kind of anxieties and worries about whether or not that person actually wants us and we can actually help them and all the things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
tell me your thoughts there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I remember when you were just talking, I remember you saying early on it's unethical, or maybe that's how I interpreted it, but to not offer something. If somebody's coming to you and they're saying, I'm struggling in this area, and we know we have something to offer and we don't offer it, it's unethical not to offer. Why wouldn't we help that person?
Right.
And also then I think a lot of times, and I still struggle with this a little bit, but just projecting our own, like, well, I know that's not going to be in your budget to do that in our head, not that the person says it, or maybe they do. And then the same thing, figuring it out. Okay, but not assuming that, or
Mm,
not, we don't know. We don't know what other people value investing in. We don't know. And we don't necessarily know if they can afford something or they can't. So taking that off the table too, and just offering and
yeah.
letting them make the decision and going from there. So,
Well, and I think that first thought that it's unethical, I think that all the time. And I say that to people all the time. It's like you're carrying around the secret solution in your pocket and you're like, but I'm going to keep it a secret from you. Like, you don't get to run around with your little secret in your pocket that helps people and not help the people when they're standing in front of you. And yes, it does cost money, but I think about this all the time. I do not love when other people decide things for me.
Mhm.
I don't love it. As my husband will tell you, I am basically like ungovernable about it at this point. Like, I am enough of a business owner. I was running an event a couple weeks ago, and one of the people sort of who were curious about it kept asking me all these questions, and I was like, "Go away, leave me alone. You left me in charge. Like, stop talking to me about this. Like, I know you're not my boss. I don't have a boss. Go away." And I was like so belligerent. My husband was like, "You are, oh my, like I can't be managed." But it's interesting how willing we are to say no for other people
Mhm.
through our assumptions. Like, I don't like when people say no for me. If I ask you how much it is, it's because I want to know.
Mhm.
If, and from there, I get to decide whether or not I have that money. And like, I have been over the years, am constantly in awe of like the assumptions I made and how wrong they were. Number one, because there were people that'll be like, I have said pricing to people that I thought were going to be like, oh no, not that. And they went, that's all. And you're like, oh crap. And then at the same time, I've had people, you know, who I could not figure out how they were affording things be like, oh, but this is from the money I inherited, or this thing over here, or that thing over there. And you're like, oh, well, why am I spending this much mental energy when this was none of my business to begin with, right? And so it really makes a difference to like just let that decision be their decision, right? Like, we don't get to choose how people spend their money. All we get to do is offer.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. I don't like being told what to do either. So I get it. And we don't know. We don't know. Each of us values different things and invests in different things. So it's not fair to make that assumption and then not offer something and maybe that person would have really benefited. I won't even say maybe. They will benefit. We know they will benefit from what we offer and that we're going to give them way more value than they even paid for. So yeah, and trusting that process. Um, yeah.
Well, and have you ever had a case? I have this periodically where somebody's paying and you just can't, you feel a little like they're not getting quite enough, but you have to trust that they are. Like, every now and then I have somebody that I'm like, gosh, I don't know what kind of good I'm doing here. And then inevitably they'll like renew or come back to me for something or send me a referral. And it's like, oh, I really felt like I wasn't doing enough, but clearly they were okay. And I was making an assumption. Do you have that happen sometimes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's hard to, some people are easier to read than others, and we
Mm.
know that they're getting what, they're getting value, and then other people are just hard to read. And like, are you okay? Are we good? Is there something else I can do? Am I serving you well? Let me know. That conversation, and I think that conversation's fine too, especially in book coaching when people still aren't writing their books. Like, what is it? Is it on you? Is it on me? Like, what are the blocks here? I'm happy to, we can try a different way, but you have to tell me, like, why aren't you writing your book? You have to let
Yeah.
me know, and I will do everything I can to help you. But also, it's on the other person to actually write the book. And I had to take that off of me too. Well, they
Yeah.
don't write it. It's a hard process, and it's not that I didn't offer enough, maybe. But that conversation, how else can I serve you? I'm not sure. Are you getting value from what I'm offering? And if not, what do we need to do differently? And if you are, awesome. So,
Well, and it's like, what are you getting? What do you need? And what is the distance that needs to be bridged?
mhm,
Because you can be getting really important things. Sometimes I don't forget, sometimes I overlook um, the non-tangible things people get, right? From coaching or from connection or those things where sometimes the ability to be seen and heard and say the things they need to say change the process for them. I just might not get to see it all, right? It's like I taught eighth graders and they would leave me and go to ninth grade and I would never know, right? You got used to that idea as a teacher, but in coaching, in working with people in service, I think it is the same. Sometimes we just have to know we did our part and walk
Hmm.
away. And I didn't like that as a teacher, and I don't like it now, but it is part of it. Like you don't know, maybe they're done with coaching and maybe they came back to their book because now their life and brain have ordered themselves in a way, but they don't need to tell you that because they don't report to
Hmm.
you.
Right. That's very true. And a lot of times people will just write their book and then maybe, or they start to, and they're like, you know, I'm not ready to do this yet. I'm not ready for this to be out into the world. It's a healing process. So even with that, where they may not have started the writing process, but they did because they were being coached. And out of that, they found, oh, you know what? I needed to write just for my own healing and my own understanding of what happened or whatever it is. So, and yeah, just that like, well, I'm not a writer. If so many people, I'm not a writer, I'm not a writer. Well, if you're writing, you're a writer. So it's like when people tell you they're not a math person, but
We're
you're a
all math
writer.
people, folks.
Um, yeah, so just write and we'll figure all of it out later. Don't, it's the process sometimes that we need, and we don't know that right away to I don't know. But if you have something on your heart that you feel like other people will benefit from, then you need to write it. And maybe you're the one who needs to benefit from it. And that's okay too. And trusting that process
Yeah, I was gonna
of,
say that's a
yep,
whole separate version of trust
mm-hmm,
right there, right?
yep, mm-hmm,
Is this is what I feel like needs to happen and I want to do, and trusting that that is the pathway, whether you know where it ends up or not.
right, right. And whether if you don't finish your book, but you feel like you were healed through that journey, that's amazing.
Right.
So
And
taking that off too, that's a win. And when you talk about wins all the time, and that's a win. If you wrote something and you wrote it for you, that's a win.
yeah.
So it's not always the end result. It's like when we put ourselves out there and we tell people we offer, that's the win. I love
Hmm.
that from you because I think about that a lot. Like that's the win. And
I
if
have to do
we
my part.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the win right there. That we took that stop and we put ourselves out there and we showed up and we connected. And
Well,
then the other's icing on the cake, but
yes.
yeah,
Well,
because
and
we
I
don't have
think
control over that.
that's exactly right. And I think
Mm-hmm.
part of the function of trust is knowing with a capital K, right? My friend Stacy always talks about knowing, and I always think about it with capital K knowing, is the knowing that I can start the path, but my internal planner, my teacher planner, wants to know which kind of tree I'll see on day 64, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
color, how tall, what kind of bird will be in it, right? And that like I might not even be in a place that has trees by then, right? That the how we get to the place and what it looks like when we get there isn't what we can conceive right here, right? We can't even see step 64. We can see step 1 and maybe some of step 2 and 3 if we're lucky, but we can't see that far, even though we really want to. I would really like to. But that how doesn't necessarily look like we think it does. And we have to trust
Mm-hmm.
that. And that sucks.
Uh-huh. We do. I think the other thing is we need to look at where we've been.
Mm.
So often we're looking to the next step and like we don't look at the whole staircase and look down and think, whoa, I started down at the landing and now, look where I am now. And celebrating that.
Well, because, did you, if we took 2019, Deb, would she have any idea where you are now?
No,
Was this her
no.
plan?
2019, I think I can't remember now, but there was a year where I was like, I'm done.
Mm,
I've been in this business 10 years. So I don't remember when your Selling for Weirdos course came out, but that was the year that I was thinking, I'm done. I haven't made a profit. I'm doing things in the community, but and I will continue to do that because I love to do that. But as far as a business and charging and finding people, it's just not happening. And then your Selling for Weirdos course turned that upside down. And
mm.
through all the reflection and all of the like, okay, I began to understand my value. I understood, and I'm like, I love to connect. Why wouldn't I keep connecting? And why wouldn't I? I can do that. I can show up. I can connect. I can formulate a plan of some kind as much as we can. Um, but yeah, that course totally flipped everything around. And I think about that a lot because I think, what if I hadn't done that? All the people who wouldn't have books out, who wouldn't have
Mm.
been maybe helped as much as they have been. I don't know. I continue to do the disability piece, but still, I was really discouraged. I may have given up on a lot of it and just thought, forget it. I'm just going to be retired and,
Yeah.
and forget the business piece. I obviously am not good at it. So, yeah, I've thanked you before. And truly, that course, I always promote it to people. If you connect me, I promote it because it flipped everything around. Even if you don't connect me, I promote it. It flipped everything for me. And I think about the ripple effect that wouldn't have happened if
Mm.
I wouldn't have stayed in business. So 2019, Deb could never have envisioned 2025, Deb.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is
Well, and like
wild.
had no version of this picture, right? Like people will say to me, "Oh, did you always plan to go into business?" And I just laugh. I laugh and laugh because no, she planned to be in a classroom, right? She didn't plan to live in Pennsylvania. She didn't plan any of this nonsense. Like none of this was on the bingo card. Like it wasn't even my bingo card, right? I couldn't conceive of this bingo card. So I think that there's an act of trust that is sort of that meta level of pathway trust, but it's the day to day, like I'm going to take the next small step, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to take the next small step that gets you on the other bingo card. We're like,
There you
wait,
go.
this bingo card is different. Hold, please. This one has all kinds of strange things on it. Like, what's a funnel? Um, but it is that day-to-day trust that builds that larger scale trust, right? Like, tell me what is what is sort of I think of it all the time as like the blessing and the curse of trust, right? Like what works for you right now as you practice trust because it's a practice? Like what are the things that you do to practice and what are the things that you're like, "Ugh, that one's always a
The
problem."
problem. um, well, the blessing of it is the trusting to, like I said, just keep showing up. I think we have a tendency, I do, to sit and think about things. Or like I thought, oh, I would like to do more speaking. And like, okay, well, why am I not doing that?
Mm,
And that then I had to do the next jump of like, okay, I have something to offer. I need to just offer and just do it. But that, it's another area now that's like, ooh, can I really do this? And yes,
yep.
I can.
Yep.
And that's kind of that piece. I don't know, is that trusting again, but in connecting with my bank person of all people, because I was having a banking problem one day and I went in and an hour on the phone trying to figure it out. We got to talking about transition bridges, what it is. And she is an adult brother with disabilities. So, do you know about this research? Do you know about that? Nope, nope, nope. So I gave her a
Oh
copy of
my
my
gosh.
book. And then she talked with another person who runs the ability piece of our bank. And she said, will you come talk to our like ability people? I said, sure. So like but again, it's those connections and trusting that, but then it's trusting that we're gonna have what we need for the next thing, whatever that is.
Yep.
It was the same with book coaching. Can I really help people? I know I can write my books, but can I really help people write their books? And just putting myself out there. And then, yeah, actually, now there's some people with books out and they're making an amazing. One of the people I helped just raised $15,000. He's a junior in high school for
What?
Alzheimer's research.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So, and I would have been done, I wouldn't have helped him because I would have been done by then. By the time he asked, I would have been like, nope. But I gave him my business cards to our local bookstore and they found me that way. But
Oh,
yeah, he wrote
wow.
this book, Letters to Grandpa, after his grandma passed away from Alzheimer's because his grandpa it was hard, if you can imagine. And so he wrote these letters that are amazing coming from at then he was like 12, I think.
Oh my God. I have like
And
the little chills and
yeah,
I
oh
oh
yeah, this
my
book,
God.
he went door to door selling this past summer. and raised $15,000 for Alzheimer's research. And that's where all the money from his books go. And that wouldn't have happened. And I'm like, that is huge.
That's
And I
amazing.
didn't do that, but he
No,
did. But
but
they
you
needed, yeah,
they needed sort of the facilitation and they needed the centering and the confidence and the you can do this and the here's how it works, here's what you do next, right?
mhm,
It's I think there's a difference between a blueprint and a roadmap,
hmm,
right? A blueprint is like step 4A, step 4B, step 4C. Roadmap is like, well, here are the routes, right? Here are all the ways we can get to that place. Like, do you want to see trees? Do you want to see water? Do you want the
hmm,
trip to be short? Do you want it to be long? What kind of trip do you want to take? Right? The blueprint is like your GPS navigation map directions, which I tend to ignore, and my kids get really upset by because I have a sense of the roads in my head, right? And I know what the options are. Like, it's kind of you get your job is, sort of travel planning, right? It's like, where are we going? How are we getting there? What are the options? What do you like? What do you don't? How does it work for you? Like it's magic
hmm.
when all that comes together. That's magic.
It is. It
Holy
is.
God. You have to tell
And
the coaching from Sarah's today is like go into your Facebook and tell his story on the video. Be like, hey, here's one of the things that we've done, and here's his book, and he's amazing. You should buy it, but also like this is what I do.
yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I have promoted him before because he's just amazing. Junior in high school, he just developed a course for other high schoolers. And I
Oh my
know
God.
he's amazing.
Where you're like,
So
okay, kid, okay, slow down, hold on.
he just
This
wants to help people. And so there again, it's that big heart. And usually people in business want to help somebody. So it's how do we do that? And like you said, it's trusting in our value and trusting that we have something somebody needs and wants and not doubting that because if we start doubting that and almost quit like I did, we don't know. We'll never know like what could have been and the people that we help are doing amazing things. I'm sure you're finding that too.
amazing things, amazing
Like,
things.
wow,
So
wow.
I think part of what you actually practice in day to day is just remembering, right? Why you're here, who it helps, what you do, what you're good at, that it makes a difference, right? Is really like very practical in the moment. Like, oh no, wait, I can do this, right? And taking the action. It is the remembering that like you do have what you need and it works itself out. And then sort of re-remembering when your brain is like, oh, I don't know what to do next. And it's like, no, 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 I do. It's sort of teaching your brain that pathway versus the like, I don't know what to do
Mhm.
now. And I think in a practical, like, sort of takeaway for people, it's like, that is practice. Like that didn't just show up one day and you were like, no, I have it all. I'm good. I got it.
No, it did not happen that
Face.
way.
I don't know if you're listening on your ears. You can't see the face she just made at me, which is like, absolutely not.
No, it did not happen that way.
No, it's practice, right? It's work.
It is.
And it's so interesting to me that it is like hard work, but nobody sees it. And
Hmm.
so I think we discount it. But it's the work that makes the most difference, which is why like trust is the theme this year because it is the hard work that makes the most difference. Without this, we're sunk kind of thing, I think. But it it makes even a little bit more trust makes an exponential impact, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. That's true. We see the roots before the fruits, right? There's roots under the ground that we have no idea. We don't see anything yet. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden we start to see a little blossom, a little bit of fruit, and we go, oh, there it
Oh, but
is.
it's been
But
working
it's
at it
that
for
trust
ages.
that, yes,
Yes.
the trust in the roots before the fruits.
Oh my gosh, right? So, if there's one thing about trust that you want people to walk away with and think about, what do you think it is?
Um, I think if anything, it would be to trust in what you're offering, to trust
Mm.
that you have something to offer that's of value to people. And I think, and to just show up and serve. I think so
Mm.
often we get in our own heads. And some days I just need to go to my coffee shop because I know when I go there, I'm going to make a connection of some kind. And even if it's with the barista, but I'm going to make one. They call them
Mm.
the baristas because it's Kenzie's bee. But anyway, but I'm going to make a connection and serve somehow, even in some little way. And that is going to keep me on the right, I don't know, I don't want to say the right path, but just trusting in the process
Mm. It's
that I'll
gonna
figure it
like
out.
keep you in yourself, right?
Yes.
And I think that's when I'm really outside of myself, I think like, okay, how can I connect to somebody today?
Mm-hmm. Same
Right?
thing.
Who do I want to reach
How
out
can I
to?
serve? How can I connect?
Yep.
Yep.
How can I be of help today? Like the question I ask at some point every day is like, what's the most useful thing I can share today?
Mm.
And it's like constantly, sometimes I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm surprised. Like straight up surprised where I'm like, well, actually, the most useful thing I could share is that workshop I'm doing, or this
Mm.
workshop my friend is doing, or that every day doesn't feel like you're being useful. Sometimes I like overly honest is my jam. Like, and so I think sometimes all of that matters for people. Like, it's useful for people to see they're not the only person trying to human their way through this. And
Mm-hmm.
but that trust in like, if I'm not sure what to do, I can show up and connect is pretty important,
Mm-hmm.
friend.
Yeah,
So,
it's very important. And something in our power to do. So much we feel is out of our control, but that's in our control to show
mhm.
up and serve and connect. So I love that. It feels empowering. Like I can do that.
Excuse me, the dog decided to participate today.
Uh-oh.
She's been a whole vibe today.
Okay.
Um, but so Deb Stanley, you are my most favorite. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. Friends, Deb is all the places. She's on Facebook and LinkedIn. She has a link to her store on Amazon. I will make sure you get that and her website link to Transition Bridges in all of the background stuff. I'm gonna hope the dog can stop talking to me. And we will make sure you can find her all the places because she is like, if you're looking for like a really human person to connect with, and even if this is a skill set you're practicing and you're trying to be just like a human who understands how to do this, Deb is magic, quite honestly, magic in 1,000 ways. And she is one of my favorite people to be like, who you need to meet is my friend Deb. Um, thank you, friend, so much for doing this with me
Yeah.
today.
Thank you too. You know you're one of my favorite people too, and you're in my head. So it's
And
a
it's
good
in a
thing.
good way. She means that in a good way,
It's a good
friends.
thing. But I appreciate
Sometime.
you too. And thank you
Uh,
for this opportunity.
oh
And
my gosh.
you're amazing too. And I love
Oh,
you.
I love you back. If you are looking for me, you can find me on the Facebook and in my group, which is called Uncomplicating Business for Teachers, Helpers, and Givers, just like this podcast. You will find Deb there too. You
Yay.
can come look at Selling for Weirdos because Deb is like my walking billboard in the most magical way. She really is. It makes a difference to be able to sell in a way that feels like you. And come talk to me about all things because I like to connect to people too. So, friends, I will talk to you in 2 more weeks with yet another. The people that are lined up are so exciting to me. I love the people part of this. And I will talk to you all soon.